What's up, guys? It's your boy, JMecha here, coming at you with another deck tech. It's a new deck. It's not Hypergenesis. I swear. It's actually Mono Blue Eldrazi. I think there's like, the current time, the current meta, I think there's an established, quote-unquote, big three of decks. First of all being Hypergenesis or Hypergenesis variants like Hyperwave, whatever. Second one being Heroic. The third one being Mono Black, like Mono Black, Demonic Rising, Style Occlusion, Demonic Rising, Haunted Playmat, whatever. I think those are like the three main like players right now in this format. And how do you beat all that? You know, they're three wildly different decks. One's a combo deck, one's a mid-range deck, mid-range control, one's a hyper-aggressive deck. It's like way a lot of different like directions you can be pulled into. So I wanted to like build something new. First of all, I wanted to really just build around this one land, Corrupted Crossroads here. It's one of the few actual quote-unquote dual lands that comes to play untapped. If only you play void spells. So my first instinct was to go two color because that it just makes you want to be a two color deck. So I wanted to build like a blue black deck off Fathom Feeder. The Fathom Feeder is the 1/1 Death Touch ingest creature that draws cards for five mana. And it's blue black. I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. So I started building this like blue black Eldrazi deck. I realized that all the black cards were completely useless. Like Fathom Feeder was pretty good, but everything else was like bad. But all the blue cards, well, blue in their casting costs, they're not actually blue, they're all devoid. All the blue-esque cards were just doing way more work. So I was like, let's just get mono blue, let's just go deep into it. So here's the deck. I say I'm playing Corrupted Crossroads despite not being two color, because I still want the blue mana and colorless mana for a couple other spells. And speaking of the colorless lands, I also have a bunch of others. 2-minute Spirit Dragon's a really big thing. If you watched my videos from last season of the Devoid aggro deck, this was a big draw to playing this card. 2-minute Spirit Dragon. I have a full set of them, and it just helps me like outrace. Like sometimes you just kind of like, take a bunch of damage. So once you get like 3 or 4 guys, you do this every turn. It's just hard to come back for some X. The other colorless land is Foundry of the Councils. I had for a while Spawning Bed, which is for 1 more mana for 6. You get 3 Eldrazi Sign tokens, and that makes sense for a lot of what I'm doing. But I found that it was too expensive, and I think 5 is the right number to activate a land for something. And getting 2 flyers isn't that bad. And also, the flyers, while they're not like Eldrazi Signs, are still good because they have evasion, and they can get pumped by other things. And there's just islands, just a bunch of islands. Clean mana base. Something comes to play tap, so mana's gonna be pretty good. Starting with the ones. Brittle Effigy. There's not a lot of good like colorless removal or blue removal in general. Psychic Purge is one of them. It's just like it's a pings something for 1. It's almost like I wish that I wanted the char that's blue. I forgot what the name of it is. Anyways, but Bitter Effigy comes down really early. It just kind of like hangs out for 4 mana to exile a creature and instant speed. So not too bad. Main deck Scrabbling Claws, because I hate a free animator. No, not really. But actually just, it's kind of funny because I only have 1 processor in the deck, but this has been, if you've ever played Modern, it's like the Mono Red Moon decks, where they had like main deck Claws, because it was a way for Red to like draw cards, while like kind of like asserting their game plan a little bit. So, but I have a game plan of just processing things. So, it's going to be good. It's also good with the Eternal Scourge that we're going to talk about later. But I get exiled on its own. Blinding Drone rather, is one of the few reasons I want colorless lands. It just taps a creature, so like a Master Decoy, but colorless. But because it's colorless, a lot of things from like Heroic can't target it. Like they can't like God's Willing their creature. They can only use hexproof stuff. So, and it's a 1/3. It's impressively a 1/3. So it does block a little the smaller creatures. Dimensional Infiltrator is the other sort of colorless activation. It does exile cards from the top of the library for colorless mana, which is like relevant, sort of. You only need really like 2 to 3 activations to be useful. And the bounce thing's not bad either. Also, it flies. Evasion's like really important in this deck. It's more of like a go wide sort of deck. So you really just want to get in chip damage wherever you can. Eldrazi Sky Spawner. It's a good cast concept. It's raid. It's a 2/1 flyer, and it makes you another guy, and it's devoid. So you get 3 power spread out with 1 card. Radiation Guide's really big in this card. First one's a 3/2, so it's aggressively costed. Second, it's just an Anthem effect for my entire team. So you'll see like a lot of things are like 2-for-1s and like We're just we're gonna make a lot of tokens at some point, and getting this pumped is really good. You know, and 3/2 side of the Scotch. It also has ingest, which is randomly important sometimes. Void Shatter, more of the exile effect. It's also a devoid colorless spell, so it gets nod over like dissolve or dissipate because it is devoid, and it works well with the crossroads as well. Eternal Scourge is kind of my new favorite card. It's super grindy. It's gonna be, I think, pretty good against the mono black deck where all the removal is just kind of like moot, except for like even exile effects. But because even if it hits my graveyard, I still have my own Scrabbling Claws, exile right back, and another card here, Voltail Masticore, which combos well with the Scourge. I wanted like another colorless way to like kind of kill my opponent, and you end up trading a lot in this deck. There's a lot of just like blocking that happens. That's, I think, the big draw, especially against Heroic. This deck blocks, just blocks. You know, just stalls time and just blocks, because you really can't get through it other through like evasion. Like if they have a fly and I don't, yeah, it's fine. But this deck loves blocking, so I'll trade off a lot of creatures, and Ultimate Massacre will just eat them up and kind of just like chip through here and there. It'll just like kind of like finish off the deal. And you know, it regenerates. You know, generations, I think, a very underrated ability. Blighter, my biggest draw to the deck actually was Blighter and Drowner Hope in a different way. I love Drowner, and you've seen that in my Hyperwave decks, but Blighter's pretty amazing every time I've gotten to use it to its full effect, which is pretty much all the time, especially with Claws, Big Claws, Infiltrators, and like Void Shatters. I'm always having, it's only these two process. It's pretty good. And yeah, it just kind of like gums up the board, gums up the side, and you know, Ruination Guide, you're just got a lot of power going on. It's a good card. I've really wanted to toy with this with other decks. I mean, let's say you like have a Parallax Wave. This is for a different deck, but a Parallax Wave, you Blight her to their creatures, and all of a sudden their creatures just in the grave will never come back. It's pretty awesome. Drowner is kind of on the top end here. I had a set for a while, whole full 4. I went to 3. This is because I thought the curve was a little high. This makes use of all the sign tokens from like Blight Herders or Sky Spawners, and just kind of like, you know, tap down your team, tag with all my other idiots. That's kind of the goal, you know. And it makes its own little army too. So like I said, with Ruination Guide, it's really good. Ruination Guide's really strong in this deck. Moving to sideboards, a bunch of different counter spells, kind of like really aimed towards the big 3 cards I talked about. Annul and Evasive Surgery, both good against mono black. Annul hits like, alright. I'll just start naming off the cards that hits. Demonic Rising, Homicide's Occlusion, Haunted Plate Mail, Underworld Connections, just all like crazy cards. Evasive Surgery, and I hit like Lay Bare the Heart, Wretched Banquet, Cruel Edict, you know. They're both just like really good in their own different ways, so that's cool. Unsummon, nice little tech against Heroic. Not really tech, but you know, kind of. It's good to catch them slipping when they don't have like a God's Willing, so you just kind of just bounce a creature for 1 mana, just reset the tempo. You know, it's not the best, but you know, I think it's good in blue for what I have. Extra Blinding Drone for the other aggressive matchups. An extra Void Shatter for like other control matchups. Good against mono black. I think each one to counter everything really. Also the Bite It. A single Bite It. It's also good in like control matchups and the mid-range matchups where you just kind of want to draw more cards. I have a bunch of evasive creatures, so this will be good. Summary Dismissal, I like it as a counterspell in general. It has niche value, especially against Gaia's Revenge. So they just play this, you just exile it immediately while it's on the stack. So it's a really like clean way of answering it. We'll have other like random uses. I guess if you I don't know, like if they have something like Pandemonium Sapling Burst, they could just exile all the effects, but they can just do it one at a time. Things like that. It has like really weird niche value, but I think it's like a very underrated card, so I want to try it out here. And Aether Spout, it's one that gets one of the aggro matchups. You can just take a more of a mid-range control plan, so Aether Spout is one of those like blue wrath effects, so to speak. If everyone's just trying to attack you, and it's pretty good. I want to try it out. Yeah, I've been testing the deck a little bit. You know, I think it's interesting. I'm not sure how good it will be, but I've felt positive in most of my matchups. I think that when you just kind of put a lot of creatures on the field with the Ruination Guide, it's just kind of like you just kind of like overrun some people sometimes, and it can kind of take a controlling role. I think the real problem with the deck is that it doesn't really draw a lot of cards, despite being blue. It's more of just like a creature type matchup. It reminds me of a lot of And then I'm only reminded of this because I just did this throwback standard gauntlet. Mono Blue Devotion, way back in Theros standard. It's kind of like that, but this has a lot more sort of like interaction. Because that deck had like 30 creatures and just like 6, and all the creatures kind of did something. This is a little different, but along the same lines. I feel like where you just kind of like trying to make a board presence and just trying to get through. But this has a lot of different elements. I'm not sure which element is the best. Like I can go super grindy with Eternal Scourge, Grappling Claws, or I can just go wide with like Sky Spawner, Blight Herder. And there's a lot of different directions that goes. I think it's a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun with it, and that's what all that matters. I've got like counter spells for like Hypergenesis. I even have Summon Dismissal for the Hyper Wave style plan. I've got a bunch of like cheap removal esque for like Heroic, and I think I have a lot of grindy elements for the mono black deck that's been floating around. And overall, it has just a solid game plan of just beating all the other random brews. So we're gonna jump into a tournament real soon. I will be streaming. It will be streaming. My internet, for those a fan of the stream, is finally good again. I did a test stream today. I had 0 problems. So assuming that I have no problems, this will be streamed. So you'll just get the full length sort of like tournament coverage. So, and if you will be watching this on YouTube, you can just look into the comments. You'll see what do you call it? You'll see the hyperlinks to each round. So yeah, that'll be fun. This will be a fun tournament. We'll see what happens, and I'll catch you back at round 1.